Hello and welcome. Today, we are unpacking one of the most important shifts happening in enterprise technology, which is the rise of agentic AI on Snowflake. A lot of people understand AI as chatbots, copilots, or predictive models, but agentic AI goes further. It introduces systems that can reason across steps, use tools, retrieve data, call other services, and work toward outcomes with less human management. When this is combined with a platform like Snowflake, which already sits at the center of enterprise data, governance, analytics, and application development, the result is powerful. Companies can move from isolated AI experiments to governed, data-aware, enterprise-grade AI systems. To understand why this matters, start with the problem most organizations face. Their data is spread across warehouses, lakes, applications, documents, streaming systems, and third-party tools. Their AI efforts are often fragmented too. One team builds a chatbot, another team runs machine learning pipelines, and another tries to connect large language models to internal knowledge. The missing layer is orchestration with trust. Enterprises need AI that can access the right data, operate under strict controls, keep context across tasks, and produce actions that are observable and auditable. That is exactly where the idea of agentic AI on Snowflake becomes strategically interesting. So what do we mean by agentic AI in practical terms? An agent is not just a model answering a prompt. It is a software-driven system that can interpret a goal, break it into tasks, retrieve relevant context, choose actions, use tools such as SQL queries or APIs, evaluate intermediate results, and continue until it reaches an outcome or asks for help. In enterprise settings, this might look like an analytics agent that investigates revenue decline, a support agent that resolves customer cases using internal policies, a supply chain agent that monitors exceptions, or a developer agent that helps generate data pipelines and validate queries. The important point is that intelligence is tied to action and workflow, not just conversation. Now place that concept inside Snowflake. Snowflake has evolved from a cloud data warehouse into a broader AI data cloud platform. It supports structured and semi-structured data, secure sharing, governance, application development, integrated analytics, and increasingly native AI capabilities. This makes it a natural environment for enterprise AI agents because agents need high-quality context, governed access, scalable compute, and connection points to business logic. Snowflake gives organizations a way to bring models closer to trusted enterprise data instead of moving sensitive data into disconnected AI stacks. That architectural point is a major reason why many enterprises are exploring agentic AI in the Snowflake ecosystem. A useful way to think about the Snowflake stack for agentic AI is in layers. At the base is the data layer, including tables, documents, logs, events, and shared datasets. Above that sits governance, identity, lineage, policy enforcement, and monitoring. Then comes processing and orchestration, where SQL, Python, notebooks, pipelines, and application logic can be combined. On top of that are AI services such as vector search, model inference, prompt workflows, and retrieval augmentation. Finally, the experience layer includes applications, copilots, internal assistants, and autonomous workflows. Agentic AI emerges when these layers work together in a controlled and repeatable way. One of the biggest enablers for agentic AI is retrieval. Enterprise agents are only as good as the context they can access. If an agent answers from general model knowledge alone, it will be incomplete or wrong for company-specific tasks. Snowflake's support for unstructured and structured data, along with search and retrieval patterns, helps solve this. A well-designed agent can pull product manuals, contracts, support articles, transaction records, policy documents, and operational metrics, then ground its reasoning in actual enterprise data. This is what makes the difference between a flashy demo and a useful production assistant. Another critical factor is governed tool use. In consumer AI, agents often connect to generic tools like web browsers or public APIs. In enterprises, the tools are different. An agent may need to run a SQL query, invoke a stored procedure, open a workflow ticket, trigger a data quality job, summarize recent incidents, or update a CRM workflow. On Snowflake, The safest design is not to let agents do everything by default, but to expose approved capabilities through tightly controlled interfaces. That means least privilege access, role-based permissions, approval boundaries for sensitive actions, and auditability of what the agent saw, decided, and executed. This is also why agentic AI on Snowflake is not just a model story. It is a platform engineering story. Teams need to think about data products, metadata, observability, governance, and user experience. The best enterprise agents do not exist as mysterious black boxes. They are designed systems with clear input sources, allowed tools, fallback rules, evaluation criteria, and escalation paths. Snowflake is appealing here because many enterprises already use it as a central data and governance plane that reduces friction. Instead of building a separate AI island, companies can extend existing data foundations into intelligent applications. Let us make this concrete with a business example. Imagine a finance operations agent on Snowflake. Every morning, it reviews cash flow movements, accounts receivable changes, payment delays, and anomalies in transaction data. It retrieves supporting context from ERP extracts, policy documents, recent customer communication, and historical trends. It identifies which changes are routine and which are unusual. It drafts a summary for analysts, recommends follow-up actions, and in approved cases, creates workflow items for collections teams. The human stays in control, but the agent does the repetitive triage, contextual retrieval, and first-pass reasoning. That is real enterprise leverage. Another example is customer support. A support agent on Snowflake can combine ticket history, product telemetry, service documentation, account entitlements, and known issue databases. When a customer reports a problem, the agent can classify the issue, retrieve relevant guidance, suggest the most likely root cause, and prepare a resolution path for the human agent. In more advanced scenarios, it can also trigger downstream steps, such as requesting logs, checking service status, or drafting a case summary. The value here is not just faster responses, it is more consistent and context-aware service built on governed enterprise knowledge. In data and analytics teams, agentic AI can become a productivity multiplier. Analysts often spend time understanding schema relationships, finding trusted metrics, validating business definitions, and writing repetitive query logic. A well-designed analytics agent on Snowflake can help users discover datasets, translate business questions into SQL drafts, explain anomalies, suggest joins, and surface relevant dashboards or semantic definitions. This does not eliminate the need for data professionals. Instead, it shifts their work toward higher judgment tasks while reducing friction for business users who need answers from complex data environments. There is also a strong case for agents in data engineering and governance. Many organizations struggle with pipeline reliability, schema drift, policy consistency, and data quality monitoring. An internal platform agent can inspect failed jobs, correlate logs, identify likely causes, recommend remediation steps, and summarize impact on downstream tables or reports. A governance-focused agent can answer questions about data sensitivity, retention rules, access policies, and lineage. Because Snowflake already stores metadata and policy context alongside operational workloads, it becomes a practical home for these kinds of domain-specific agents. Of course, there are real technical challenges. The first is context quality. If source data is inconsistent, duplicated, stale, or poorly documented, the agent will amplify those problems. The second is orchestration discipline. Multi-step systems can fail in subtle ways if prompts, tool calls, retrieval logic, and memory handling are not carefully designed. The third is evaluation. Traditional software is tested with expected outputs, but agentic systems need scenario-based evaluation across reasoning quality, retrieval relevance, factual accuracy, tool selection, safety, and business outcome. Enterprises that skip this engineering rigor usually end up with fragile prototypes. Security and governance are even more important. Agentic AI sounds attractive because it can act, but that is also where risk enters. If an agent can access regulated data, execute transactions, or trigger workflows, it must operate within explicit policy boundaries. Snowflake's strengths around governance, role-based access, masking, controlled sharing, and centralized data management can help, But governance is not automatic. Teams still need clear action scopes, logging, human review for high-impact decisions, and separation between recommendation mode and execution mode. In most enterprises, the best rollout starts with agents that observe and assist before agents that autonomously act. Another strategic question is model choice. Agentic AI on Snowflake does not have to depend on one model vendor or one architecture. Enterprises may use hosted models, fine-tuned models, smaller domain models, or a mix depending on cost, latency, data sensitivity, and task complexity. For some workflows, a lightweight classifier plus retrieval plus deterministic rules may outperform a large general model. For others, a frontier model may be necessary for high-quality reasoning or synthesis. The smart design principle is to choose the smallest and safest approach that reliably meets the task requirement, rather than assuming the biggest model is always better. From a business perspective, the real value of agentic AI on Snowflake is not novelty. It is operational compounding. When agents are connected to governed enterprise data, reusable workflows, and measurable business processes, they can reduce time to insight, shorten resolution cycles, improve employee productivity, increase policy consistency, and unlock new digital experiences. They can also make data platforms more accessible to non-technical users by turning natural language into guided, context-aware work. But the return on investment depends heavily on use case selection. High-value, repeatable, data-rich workflows usually deliver much better outcomes than vague ambitions to build a general enterprise AI assistant for everything. So where should organizations begin? A strong starting point is to pick one bounded domain, such as support operations, finance analysis, data platform operations, or internal knowledge assistance. Then define the job to be done very clearly. Identify the trusted data sources, the retrieval pattern, the allowed tools, the human approval steps, and the metrics for success. Build the agent to be explainable. Measure whether it saves time, improves consistency, reduces escalations, or increases throughput. Once that foundation works, expand carefully. The companies that succeed are usually the ones that treat agents as products with governance and lifecycle management, not as isolated experiments. Looking ahead, agentic AI on Snowflake could become a major design pattern for enterprise software. Instead of applications being purely dashboard-driven or form-driven, many workflows may become goal-driven. Users describe what they need, and agents coordinate data retrieval, analysis, decision support, and execution under policy controls. In that future, the platform that combines data, governance, and AI orchestration has a powerful advantage. Snowflake is positioning itself around exactly that convergence. The opportunity is significant, but so is the need for disciplined architecture, trustworthy data, strong governance, and realistic expectations. Thank you for watching, and I hope this gave you a clear and practical view of what agentic AI on Snowflake really means and why it matters now.